Hello, Bebe. It's April the 16th, 2017. I believe this is my 12th letter to you. I had to holler about something to you. I felt very inspired recently to holler at you about something. And it's a subject material that we've touched upon previously, but I want to dive a little bit further into it. And like I said, I was inspired recently to make this video. Alright, I want to explain that I was on the internet the other day and I saw a meme being put up on the internet by a person who I follow on the internet pretty closely for the most part. She put up a meme, or she put up, like, I guess an open-ended question out there into the public. She basically detailed on how it's exceedingly hard for her as, as a wife and a couple to find other couples to hang out with, especially couples where, like, they have children and both the parents are there and all the children are there as one complete intact family. She was making mention of that, like, she was drawing attention to the fact that it's pretty hard for her to pull that off, and she made it seem as though that it would be something to desire for her, like, in a couple. She would like it very much to hang out with another couple that's intact, where they have their children. Everybody's there with their children. And so, I felt it, since I was paying close attention, I felt it necessary to, go ahead and lend some advice to this person. If they're going to listen, just lend a little bit of advice to this person about what it is she's noticing and what it is that she's going to notice more and more in the future. And the same actually goes for you as well. You're going to see this happen. It's going to, at least for the next, I would say 10 years, what you're going to see is a further slide into failure, which is what we've been seeing already when it comes to marriages. All right? What you're going to notice, and you can quote me if you want, is less and less marriages ending in success. In fact, it's going to be something like a game of musical chairs between people. All sort of different marriages and different kids, out of wedlock and stuff and running around. And it's going to be quite confusing. Quite confusing. This is going to be something that you're going to notice. Right? And it's going to happen more and more. And so, I knew that if I was going to put in my 2 cents at all, that I would just go ahead and let her know. You're going to see more of this. What you noticed here, it's called failure. And you're going to notice that it's going to happen more and more because it's a pattern that's been created. All right. If there was a formula for success, something like the way that you described, in which there are two parents and they have children together and that's it, they're married, end of story, that would be success. You're not going to see very much of it. It's going to be all mixed up, quite confusing. So I let her know in a comment. I just had to put my 2 cents in there. I said, you know what, you're living in the tribulation. I know that sounds crazy. I completely acknowledge how insane that it sounds at first when I say, hey, you're living in the tribulation, alright? I know you're not going to understand these words, but all these people that believe in different gods, and their relationships, unfortunately, were doomed from the start. And it's because of the fact that they believe in different gods, and it is that simple. Now, a lot of people, especially these days, they don't even like discussing God, not even with the people that they're married. They like to keep that very close, a lot of these people, and they wind up believing in different gods even if they don't know it. Like, there are people who are Christians, they're both Christians, a man and a woman, and they don't realize, because they don't ever talk about God very much, they don't happen to realize that they're actually believing in two different gods. Right? Or maybe, they're both atheists, and that happens a lot. Right? It's very hard to pinpoint what your partner in marriage. It's very hard to pinpoint who is their God, what is their God, what are they worshiping when they're atheists, because it's hard to put a definition on that sort of stuff. And so you're going to notice that a lot of these marriages, most of them, the majority of them, they're going to end in failure. They're going to cease to be. And you can call it the tribulation, or actually feel free to call it whatever you want. But if you look up tribulating in the dictionary, tribulation, you're going to find that pretty much sums up the situation that we're experiencing, not only geopolitically, but in our marriages and our relationships between men and ladies. Deteriorating. It's been deteriorating. It's going to continue. I happen to call it the tribulation. The Bible called it the tribulation, and a lot of people don't believe in the Bible. Right? I don't know how many times I gotta say, I don't care. Like, I accept y'all. Ain't nothing to prove or anything like that. I accept you. Just let me accept you. That's the thing about it. It's like, all right, I believe in God. And then there'll be people out there. And see, this is what kind of upset me. Because here's the thing. The lady, she put out her meme, right? About how, most of these marriages are failures and stuff. And she's wondering why. She's wondering why she can't meet a couple with children and that's it, and everybody can hang out and get along. She's wondering why, and then I told her why, and then some other people came to, for whatever reason, proselytize to me. And that's what's interesting. It's like that kind of offended me in a way, not because the people were trying to proselytize atheism on me. That didn't offend me because a lot of people do that, and I don't mind that they do that. For the most part, I welcome it. If you're going to talk to me and stuff about interesting things, fine. Then, proselytize to me about your atheism and the fact that there ain't no God and all that, whatever. You can talk to me about that. But see, the thing is, I got a little bit offended. Truth, I got a little bit frustrated because the whole concern is not about whether or not I believe in God here. The concern is what this lady is seeing, what she was writing about, which is failure, all sort of failure in marriage. That's what she was writing about. All right, so that is the main concern. Why would the main concern be then switched on to there isn't a God and I'm supposed to believe you just because you told me there ain't? I mean, could you imagine, first of all, if there was a person that believed in God, could you imagine that someone on the internet came and told them, oh, there's not no God, you need to drop that, bro, you're being dumb and stuff, believing in fairy tales. And if that person stopped believing in God, wow, that's pretty easy. You defeated that person pretty easily. It's a pretty weak-minded person. All right, why would they listen to an internet person and be like, oh yeah, I guess, he might be right. I guess there isn't a God. I was just messing around this whole time. No, but see, it offended me because, like I said, people proselytize to me about all sort of things, and that really doesn't bother me. But they were switching the subject, which was total and utter failures that you're seeing around you in these relationships and these marriages, and I don't like seeing that kind of stuff. I was very interested in the original topic. They tried to proselytize to me, and what I want to explain to y'all out there is this. There might be an atheist that sees this video. All right, you're an atheist, right? Have you ever gone out and been proselytized to by a Christian person? Of course you have. Of course you have. Y'all all have. And you found it very annoying. You found it frustrating that these people would even have enough time in the day to even bother to do that, right? I know every atheist out there has experienced being proselytized to by some sort of Christian or whatever else. I mean, it's very annoying. So with that in mind, why wouldn't it be annoying the other way around? Did you ever think about that? It's like, if I personally do not care at all, have no investment in what your atheist God or whatever you believe in, why would you bother to proselytize to me? All right? Why do you feel the urge to try and convince me otherwise? How do you have that much time in the day, to be honest with you, dude? I mean, here's the thing. I know a lot of people, and they believe in absolutely what I don't believe in. You know how much time I have in a day for that? Not any time. I don't have no time to try and convince those people, nor would I want to. And see, that's what gets me all confused. There's a lot of atheists out there that love to proselytize about, oh, there's no God. You can't believe in God because I don't believe in God. It's like, dude, I'm sorry about that, but I don't have time for that. Meanwhile, the original subject matter, I find, hits quite close to home. And, you know, that's why it was very serious for me to try and converse about this particular topic of marriages falling apart all around us, and all these families being filled up with stepdaddies and stepmamas and all sort of different, there's a lot of stuff. Families are now mishmash now, basically. All right, it's not so successful. That's what I originally was commenting, is we used to have a successful system, basically, and we're drifting away from that. Some people would describe that as a drifting away from God and God's formula to creating successful families like the one that's being desired in that particular meme. To create these successful, calm, peaceful, loving, just eternal family structures. All right. We used to have that, basically don't have that no more, going farther away from that. You could believe in God, you could believe in Allah, you could believe in whoever, whatever little spaghetti monster you want to do. None of my business. At the same time, you do see this pattern, right, of going from successful marriages where people died together, always being married to each other, just having babies with each other, and that's it. That was successful, am I right? I mean, let's be objective about this. It's not about who it is I'm worshiping or whatever. In a way it is, but we'll discuss that later. We're talking about that marriages are failing. And they're obviously not following the formula that was adhered to prior to when marriages started failing all over the place. All right, the reason that I had to bring up God, and the thing is, I bring up God most of the time because he has pretty much everything to do with everything. But the reason why I brought that up is because a lot of people don't understand. All right, your marriages and my marriage, anybody's is kind of doomed to fail if it so happens to be that you as a person are believing in a different God as that other person. Now, y'all might not never discuss God between yourselves. Y'all might discuss everything else. That in politics might be off the table for that person and their partner. Or maybe they talk about God a lot. But regardless of whether or not they lie about it or avoid it or do whatever else, their marriage is going to fail. I promise you that. It brings me no joy to say that, because I like it when marriages last, to be honest with you. All right, their marriage is going to fail, and it's going to be whatever reason. You know, there's all sort of reasons why people are splitting up from other people these days. They have all sort of reasons. I understand that there are all sort of explanations. To me, from where I'm sitting, those two people believe in different gods, dude, and it really is that simple. It's because they believed in two different gods that they were always going to be driven apart. It was always destined to happen. The relationship was always doomed to fail at a certain point. All right? And if you don't want to think about it on the terms of, believing in different gods, I'll put it to you like this. It was a successful formula. All right? We're talking male and female. All right, we're talking for life. We're talking about making babies, grandbabies, and great-grandbabies. All right, successful formula. Drifted away from that. All right, here's what I'll break it down for you in a different way. a woman and a man have a certain type of relationship. They love each other, not in the same type of way. It in no way is equal. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but they're not equal because they are not the same kind of love. Now, just to be very brief, a successful relationship, all right, is going to involve these two things, a man and a woman. But okay, the woman, she's going to worship. And when I say the word worship, I mean it. Her husband, worship him. All right, whether or not you want to believe in Jesus or not, the woman is going to worship her man the way that I worship Jesus. It's going to be the exact same way. And I know a lot of people out there are thinking, oh, this is so sexist, oh, this is so misogynistic or whatever. No, a woman is going to worship her husband in the same way, the exact same way basically that I worship Jesus. She's going to worship that man. She's going to follow that man regardless. All right, and that's not going to happen, believe it or not, because a lot of these ladies out here are being taught to be all sort of independent to the point of suicidal nature. They are very, very independent, and they do not want to worship anybody at all. So a lot of them claim to worship Jesus. It's like, now, if you're with your husband and you have a husband, you worship that man. And let me just tell you, that's not my opinion. That's not like what I think you should do. That's what a female's whole being has been designed to do since before we could remember, is to find a man and worship him. All right, you're going to need that in a successful marriage if your marriage is going to continue. If you do not have that, if that element does not exist, if the woman does not think of the man as like her head, like she worships him, it's not gonna happen. The marriage will fail, period. And at the same time, you know, women out there are probably thinking, oh, well, that's messed up, that what he's saying. No, a man is designed to absolutely in every way cater to a woman. And if he does not submit himself completely and fully to catering to this said woman, then the marriage is going to fail, period. All day and the discussion. Now, those two elements are absolutely crucial. If you don't have them, not going to last, all right, period. And a lot of people are going to be asking themselves why, making up all sort of explanations. No. A woman has to worship the man. The man has to absolutely cater to the woman. Those two things don't happen, well, guess what? It's over for you. But also, you could simply even state that even simpler by saying these two people believe in different gods. And that's why I even brought it up. Because that's the thing about it. A woman, just like a man, like I said, a woman has to worship her husband. A woman, just like a man, cannot control who they respect. I want you to think about this and meditate on this for a second. As human beings, you're eventually going to have to admit to yourself, you have absolutely no control over who you respect. You have no control over it. You can control the values, and I feel as you grow as a person, you might be able to control the values in people that you respect, and thereby you'll start respecting different people, but you cannot control who you respect. And I say that to say this: a woman, after a while, whether she believes in God, doesn't believe in God, none of it really makes a difference. She will start to feel in her brain that y'all don't believe in the same God. She's going to stop worshiping you. She's going to stop respecting you. And lots of times, in fact, most of the times, the woman lost respect for the man long before the relationship was ended. Long before. What I'm saying is this: it was already triggered. The woman lost respect. The relationship was over at that very moment. All right, and maybe the relationship just ends like a year later or a couple years later. All right, maybe the woman takes her time with it and breaking it to the man she no longer respects, the man she no longer worships. Maybe she takes her time with it, and I'm not out here blaming the girl for doing that. All right, but there's a certain point in the relationship, whether they know it or not. These two people believe in the different gods. The woman loses respect for the man, and he might well deserve it. Maybe he didn't deserve the respect. I don't know. It's different in a lot of situations, but the woman loses her respect for the man, and even if she doesn't know it, what I'm here to tell you is that relationship is over. It's destined for failure. There's no way around it. She needs to respect that man. You understand? She cannot control who she respects. If she loses that respect, you're done for. And you could call it, like I said, that they believe in different gods. You could call it whatever you want. The formula was strayed from. The marriages won't last. It's a very serious topic matter. And I'll tell you one other thing. You know, a person on the internet, just like I've heard from a lot of people, I could tell, and I'm not going to name names obviously and stuff, it's none of y'all's business, but this person on the internet, I know that their relationship is over. Even if she doesn't, even if this video makes her extremely angry, if she winds up seeing it, who knows? Alright, but her relationship is over. Now, she might want to disagree and say, oh, I'm full of shoot. She might want to say that. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying these words to convince you at all. I'm not out here trying to convince people necessarily. I'm saying the words because they're true, and only time will tell. Time will tell. It will tell. Regardless of what you think, if I'm right or wrong, if I'm believing in the right God or not, you're going to understand that this person who I'm speaking of, and this goes for many people who I've heard before, their relationship is over. I know it, even if neither one of them know it. It's kind of terrifying to watch this, because here's the thing, I know it because I've seen it before. I've lived it. All right. I mean, you could call me some sort of fortune teller or psychic. Years later, when you realize, or perhaps days later, weeks later, months later, years later, really doesn't matter. The marriage was destined for failure. You cannot have a marriage in which the woman does not worship the husband. And then if she's worshiping the husband, then who's he worshiping? Nobody. Somebody very ambiguous, some sort of nothingness, and you gotta understand, most of these marriages are gonna end in failure regardless of what's my opinion, how I choose to explain it, how you want to explain it. They're all gonna fail and stuff. I'm just lending a more simple approach as to why these marriages are going to fail, how you could turn them around. Perhaps I'm not in a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship. Alright, me personally, have no desire for that, but there's people out there who do. There's people out there who want a relationship that's going to last forever. Meanwhile, our public schools don't teach us how to make a relationship last forever. Like, our parents seem to not be able to have any clue how to do it either. I'm just lending some advice, man. You might want to believe in the same God. That might be a priority for you. Anyways, it's April the 16th. And people, they don't want to hear it. Ain't believing in the same God. By the time you hear this kind of stuff, little baby, you know, you're already going to understand. Ain't nobody going to be believing in the same God. It's going to be all willy-nilly. Relationships won't last and stuff. All these families are going to be mishmashed up and stuff, and none of them are going to have any sort of direction. None of them are going to have any sort of foundation. None of them are going to have any sort of like moral code or anything like that. It's going to be all moral subjectivity. It's going to be all, everything's relevant, or everything's, you know, it's going to be craziness. It's going to be called the Tribulation, by the way. It's April the 16th, 2017, and I'll holler at you later.